Islam Makhachev has retained his welterweight championship over Ian Garry, and honestly, it was a close fight. It was a fight that has have some controversy to it, a little bit, but not in the way that makes you say this is some kind of robbery, not in a way that makes you think, oh my goodness, Islam Makhachev.
Everything you knew about UFC judging, wrong. Islam Makhachev just won a championship fight that exposed a massive game-changing problem for the entire sport. Dana White is furious. His victory over Ian Garry ignited an explosive debate, not a robbery but the scorecard's controversy. A ticking time bomb for fan engagement. When spectacle is overshadowed by strategy, it cripples PPV buys. This sets a dangerous precedent.
So stalemating and strategizing and chess moves, which is always a bit of an issue when you're talking about a championship fight, a main event where people want to go home.
Garry's game plan hinged on stopping Islam's grappling. He knew the blueprint, Islam's bread and butter, yet he couldn't execute. That he knew what was coming and still couldn't prevent it speaks volumes. Why didn't Garry adjust sooner? What does that say about his fight IQ under pressure?
Confidence was based around his ability to stop Islam from doing what he wanted to do, which was...
Islam's heavy grappling, especially the single leg in round one, became the round. 3.5 minutes of dominance. Judges faced control time versus actual damage. Neither landed much, so Islam literally rode that round to the ground. This highlights the core tension in MMA judging.
To essentially grapple heavy, and I mean heavy, in this matchup. He got the single leg on Ian Garry in the first round and pretty much rode that round into the ground with control time. And this is always what we do in these fights, as we come down to this conversation of what matters more to MMA judging, control time or damage. Well, in this case, there was not much of the latter for either guy, but there were instances of it. It was kind of like I said in the beginning of the video, there were moments.
Then came the moment that changed everything, Islam's left high kick. It dropped Garry in round two, a clear fight-altering strike unveiling Islam's striking prowess. Garry recovered, but the damage was done. Islam was up 2 rounds, shattering the grappler-only narrative. But wait, it gets worse.
Of spectacular things happening, but for the totality of the fight, that wasn't necessarily the case. The first round goes Islam Makhachev purely based off of his control time. I think it was something like 3.5 minutes, maybe more, where Ian Garry was doing a good job of defending, right? Like, he was doing a good job of not getting put flat on his back and making Islam work for every position, but Islam was holding Ian on the cage, and they were just level changing up and down, up and down. It was, you know, pretty much exactly what you expected early on. What I thought may happen after that was either Ian Garry was going to get...
Now the big moment, Ian Garry's head kick in round 3. It likely broke Islam's nose, a game changer. Islam became hesitant, retreating to grappling. This was Garry's best round. He landed significant damage and stifled Islam's primary attack. Why didn't we see more of that aggression earlier?
Islam throws a right hand that misses, and then a left high kick that slaps across the face of Ian and drops him. And this was the biggest moment of the fight. This right here is legitimately the biggest moment of the fight, because now you also, on top of the fact that Islam won the first round with his grappling, he's going to win the second with his striking based off this huge moment where Ian hits the ground. Now, did he stay down there? Was he hurt badly? No, he popped back up to his feet, and Islam did a great...
Round 4's judging exploded. Islam dominated early, yes, but Garry blasted him with significant damage at the end. How did 2 judges hand that round to Islam? Damage should outweigh control. This isn't a misstep, it's a direct contradiction of the rules. This fueled the outrage online.
And Islam did a great job from there with a nice judo throw, took him over, and controlled him on the ground again for the rest of the round. But this was a key moment because now Ian Garry's down 2 rounds. And having been down 2 rounds, this means he needs to step on the gas pedal. This means he needs to be, forget efficiency. We have to be a bit desperate now. Because you lose one more round and the fight's over, you've lost, right? Well, round 3, Ian came out and was more successful. Now, again, this wasn't a barn burner of a round, but he took a little bit more risk. He did throw some of those oblique kicks. He did. Now,
Ian Garry will despise watching that 5th round. He knew Islam would sell his soul for those legs, knew he had to take risks. But he stayed hesitant. His passivity, his inability to pull the trigger was his undoing. He never unleashed the killer instinct for a championship victory. His lack of urgency plagued him.
Only control half the round and lose the major scoring criteria, which is damage. How do you win the round? That one's beyond me, but I thought Ian won the 4th round, making it 2-2 going into the 5th, and one judge did have it that way.
The striking stats? Woeful. Islam landed just 22 significant strikes, Gary only 29. Over 5 rounds, Islam won the 5th without a single significant strike. The rulebook's emphasis on control either makes perfect sense or completely fails. This is not the destroying performance fans are showing up for.
Round. And this is where I think Ian Gary will kick himself, because you knew what was coming if you were Ian Gary. You knew that Islam was going to dive at the legs. You knew he wasn't going to engage in the striking. You knew you were going to have to fight like hell to keep yourself on your feet and then do your damage, and it meant you're going to have to take some risks. Because Dana White said this in the post-fight presser, and I agree with him. Listen, I'm not a fighter. I never claimed to be a fighter. So I can't sit here and understand what it means to go into that 5th round and have the respect for each other developed from the first 4 rounds, and just the fact that it's this moment. And
Dana White hit the nail on the head about Ian needing killer instinct. But that applies to Islam too. Remember when he rocked Gary? He didn't follow up with ferocity. Look, if you want Islam to stop grappling, you have to stop him. When a strategy is this effective and legal, it's used. It's a challenge for opponents to innovate.
Over 5 rounds is brutal. Ian is not much better at 29. I mean, some of these are god-awful. Look at this, 3-0 in the first round, 11-6, 5-9, 7-3, 7-0, and Islam won the 5th round without throwing it or landing a significant strike. How insane is that? Again, I understand it because of the way the rule set in MMA is set up. Islam controlled Ian for pretty much the majority of this round, but even still, you didn't land a strike. You didn't land a significant strike, and you won the round in a fighting sport. Again, I get it.
The double standard with grappling is insane. Dern gets ripped for stalling, but Islam dominates with grappling and its masterful control. We have 0 consistent judging standards, and fan expectations are all over the map. This inconsistency is why talks about Islam's fights spiral into a polarizing mess. It's about us.
It was over, and I think, where Dana is right is that Ian needs to have some killer instinct in that moment. I think the same thing could be said for Islam, though. Like, Islam showed no killer instinct.
Islam Makhachev, 29-1 with 7 title defenses, is an undeniable force, rocketing into the GOAT conversation. He shattered a historic win streak. But Jon Jones still holds that title with 11 defenses, beating 7 different champions. Islam has 3. That knockout loss, the elephant in the room Jones doesn't have. It's a factual resume comparison.
Danny and Caucus wrestling, you have to stop them. If you want it to end, stop them. That's in any sport, no matter what, whether it's the tush push in the NFL, if you think it's a gimmick, or if it's a manipulation of the rule set.
And Ian Gary, yes, the guy with the antics, but what he did asterisk in the cage was pure talent. He laid out a blueprint proving Islam isn't invincible at welterweight. His hesitation was his Achilles heel, but the potential screamed. This was a brutal learning experience that will warp his approach. The next challenger, they'll dissect Gary's every success and failure.
If you think it's a gimmick, or if it's a manipulation of the rule set, stop it. Find a way to stop it, and they'll stop doing it, right? If you find a way to stop them from doing it, then they'll stop, and they'll have to adjust. But that's easier said than done, I understand that, but it is a part of the sport. The people that are going to say, it's boring, yeah, okay, but it is MMA, and grappling is a part of it. I think that the grappling should be a vehicle to continue striking or continue threatening finishes, as Islam said he was going to do in this fight. He was looking for finishes, but like I said, easier said than...
So there you have it. Islam won, but judging entertainment cost and the GOAT debate are burning hotter. This fight wasn't just about a belt. It exposed deep flaws. It also gave every future challenger a clear blueprint. So who deserves the next shot at Islam, and what changes should the UFC make to fix their judging? Drop your thoughts, smash that like button, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. I'll see you in the next one.
Just a part of it, and that is what it is. But a great win for Islam. He breaks Anderson Silva's win streak record. He goes to 17 straight wins in the UFC. What a career. 29-1, 7 championship defenses. He's done it at 2 weight classes. He's creeping up into the GOAT conversation. Now, people are going to start saying he is the GOAT, and I disagree. I still have Jon Jones as the greatest fighter of all time. I have not wavered on that point. When everybody decided to just completely shit on Jon Jones because he ducked Tom Aspinall, which he did. He ducked Tom Aspinall, and you can even argue he ducked Francis. That doesn't take away from what he did inside that octagon. We're talking about a guy, and again, we'll do a full video on this if you guys really want.